to Katrien to introduce herself, and then we'll get going.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Charlotte. I'm Katrien. I'm the academic director. I'm sorry, it's the bad weather here. I'm the academic director of the Paris program. So I'll be your point of contact, and for today I'll be the person to ask any sort of academic questions related to the courses and the content. I'm a banking and finance specialism. As you know, we have multiple specialisms. So you can ask me about anything, but my specialism is banking and finance. I'm based in London, but I spent quite some time, increasingly I spent quite some time in Paris. So you'll see a lot of me when you join the program next year, if you do. Sam, after you.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everybody. It's now afternoon here in London. My name's Samantha Heffernan. I am the coordinator of the programs that CCLS operates in Paris. So it's my job to make sure everything runs smoothly, fingers crossed. And I'm also a point of contact for you if you have any questions, certainly in the lead up to you joining us, but then throughout your program as well. So my job today is to introduce you to the programs that we have to offer to you in Paris, and to give you a little bit more context and an explanation of how we operate there and what you might expect from your studies with us in Paris. So, without further ado, voila, there we go. So I'd like to introduce you to our team. You've just met Dr. Katrien Morbet, who's our academic director. There's me on the other side running the day-to-day kind of elements of the program. And in the middle there, we have our third member of our team, Anna Gray, who is our programs manager and also looks after business development for Europe for CCLS as well. So a little bit about QMUL and law at QMUL in general. I know some of you have already made an application, so this might be familiar to you already, but for those of you who haven't, we'd like to introduce QMUL to you. The Centre for Commercial Law Studies is the postgraduate part of the School of Law at Queen Mary, and we opened in 1980. We were created by Sir Roy Good, and it was his intention to bring together the commercial practitioner aspect of law with the academic side. And so we've retained this kind of vision since 1980 to combine those two. So you'll find out eventually that a lot of your academics, for example, are also practitioners, or you may have the opportunity to have guest lectures from practitioners throughout your program. So that's really important to us to combine those two elements. Generally speaking, we're very proud to say that we're the 26th best law school worldwide from the QS World Rankings from 2022. We're a Russell Group University, which for those of you not familiar with the UK system is a group of research intensive universities. We're extremely international. That's something that we're very proud about. We're ranked as one of the top 20 most international universities worldwide. And we have some of the largest LLM programs, Masters of Law programs in the UK and Europe, welcoming students from literally everywhere, which is one of the most exciting parts about my job, to be honest, that I love meeting students from around the world. And you're joining an international research and academic community. And part of our international focus is our transnational education programs. So we operate not only in London across, I think we have 5 campuses in London, but we also have campuses elsewhere around the world. And one of those is our lovely Paris campus. So in Paris, we're based at the University of London Institute in Paris. We're both part of the University of London. They're sort of like our sister institution, and they very kindly, through partnership, allow us to deliver our programs from Queen Mary, but in their premises. So we're based in the 7th arrondissement. I don't know if you're familiar with the map of Paris, but we're very close to the Eiffel Tower, which fairly recognizable landmark around the corner. You can see it from the library. It's quite a nice study space. We've got the Musée d'Orsay, the Musée Rodin, and the Hôtel des Invalides really close by. And if you're looking at the metro map, for a point of reference, the nearest metro is Invalides, and it's just across the road. So there you go. That's a a fairly rudimentary map of Paris. You can see the little red dot in the middle. That's our school, our location. And there's the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and the Louvre for a point of perspective. So we offer two different types of programs in our Paris campus. We have our LLM and we have a double LLM. I'll talk about that one in a moment. The LLM is a one-year full-time program, but you can also take it part-time, and that's over 2 years. And we offer a September intake or a January intake every year. And it's like I said, a 12-month program. So you do September to September or January to January. And we run an intensive block teaching method of teaching and learning. We are in person, and that's supported online where appropriate through a virtual learning environment. But generally your classes will be, face-to-face with actual people, which is wonderful. We're back in business. The primary program on the LLM is International Business and Commercial Law, or we offer specialisms in Banking and Finance Law with Katrien, Comparative and International Dispute Resolution, Intellectual Property Law, and Technology, Media and Telecommunications Law, which we abbreviate to TMT. The programs, although delivered entirely in France, are taught and assessed entirely in English. It's a UK qualification from a UK university. You're just in a different country. We also have partnerships, various partnerships, but one which might be particularly relevant to some of you today is the partnership with the Paris Bar School. So for students who are currently taking the bar studies at the Paris Bar School, we can offer our LLM as something called the Projet Pédagogique Individuel, which is a sort of a mandatory part of the bar training. Alternatively, you might be interested in taking the double LLM, and we run this one in partnership with Panthéon-Sorbonne. It's the University of Paris 1. And this is a slightly newer program that we launched in January 2018. It's based on our LLM in Paris and the Sorbonne's LLM that they run at their own Paris premises. It's an 18-month program. We have only a January intake for this one, and it's only offered full-time. And it's even more niche because it's a bilingual program. So your entrance requirements will comprise English language, French language, and the academic side. There is an internship module included in this program, which is quite attractive, and that's overseen by the Sorbonne. And for your 18 months, you exit with 2 qualifications. Like I said, one of them is the LLM in International Business Law from Queen Mary, which is all in English. And on the other side, you've got the LLM in French and European Law from the Sorbonne, and that's all in French. So it is a fully bilingual program, and you will be required to know French and English in order to join that one. For the single LLM, no French is required. You're going to be living in France, so you might find it an interesting opportunity to learn French, but it's not necessary for you to undertake the LLM and to succeed on the LLM. You don't need French in that case. So what might you expect from your educational experience with us in Queen Mary in Paris? As I mentioned, we operate intensive block teaching. So rather than your classes taking place every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, you might find that you have a couple of days or several evenings across a week, and then a gap, and then maybe some further evenings or daytime classes later on in the month. And we tend to condense our modules in this way. Sometimes we have Saturday classes, which helps our students who are perhaps working at the same time. But we do try to make those quite light. We don't want people to be working on Saturdays if they can help it. As I mentioned, 23-24, the next academic year starting in September, we are expecting to continue fully in person. We are currently fully in person, having gone through all of the hybrid online COVID. But the regulations in France are such that they allow us now to operate fully in person, and we're taking great advantage of that because we're really excited to be back in person in the classroom. Your modules are studied across the semester, regardless of your class time. So you, as we mentioned with the intensive block teaching, you won't necessarily have regular classes, you know, once a week, every week. But you will have access to all of the module materials from the beginning of the semester right through to the end of the semester and the exam period. So you are kind of looking at studying that module all the way through that semester, even though you're not necessarily going to be in class every week. So outside of your class times, of course, the emphasis will be on self-study, preparation, reading, revision, writing your assessments, and that kind of thing. And they lead into these notional hours per credit. So including your class time, but then there's all of the other study sessions around the edges as well. One thing that you can expect from the programs that we offer in Paris are small class sizes. So we have a relatively small student body, certainly in comparison to the London LLM, which is rather enormous. So we're operating on a much smaller scale in Paris, a little bit more, I don't know, some students have described it as executive. Not exactly, but it has a slightly more executive feel to it, I think, just through the fact that the class sizes are smaller. Our academics have a very interactive and comparative approach, and your participation is expected, and you can't hide in a small classroom. So we expect you to do all your preparation, do all your reading, and come to class ready to discuss the matter at hand. And because we have a very international student body, that comparative element comes into play really nicely. You know, you're going to learn from each other quite as much as from your academics. Speaking of the academics, we have what we call a flying faculty. It's a little bit misleading because, in fact, most of them take the train from London to Paris and back again. But the point is that you are taught by the same people who are teaching in London. So our academics teach their subject across all of our campuses. So if you take mergers and acquisitions in the London program, you're going to get the same teachers as in the Paris program. So yeah, we have that kind of equality in that respect. A little bit of a deep delve into the structure of the LLM. We require 180 credits for our LLM, and usually that includes a dissertation of 30 credits, which is equivalent to 10,000 words in English. Oof. Our taught modules are to the value of 30 or 15 credits, and that usually equates to 30 hours of classroom time or 15 hours of classroom time. And then you have all the self-study and the reading and preparation around the edges, as we mentioned. 90 of your taught credits and the dissertation must be in the specialist field if you intend to achieve a specialist LLM. That's your choice. It's an option. You don't have to specialize, but we offer it if you want to. You've also got the opportunity to take credit outside of your specialist area, so up to 60 credits of modules from any other specialism. We call this your free choice. So, for example, if you're taking a specialism in technology law, it might be that you want to spend some of your free choice credit on some intellectual property modules, that are very compatible subject areas, or you might choose to do something completely renegade. You might go well out of your comfort zone and learn something completely new. Or, you know, when you see the module list and when we come to our induction, you'll have the opportunity to discuss your choices with our academics to see whether you've made a coherent, sensible selection or whether it makes no sense whatsoever. And we'll be able to guide you through that. So that's the structure of the LLM. The structure for the double LLM and for the EFB, the Paris Bar School students, is a little bit different. So if you have particular questions about that, please feel free to ask me, or you can email me separately as well. I mentioned induction. This is our welcome week, effectively. It's our opportunity to meet you at the beginning of the year, to overwhelm you with information that's useful and that's going to help you. And effectively, I've put here, all will be explained. So hopefully that's where we will explain everything to you. I send our students joining instructions and practical information well in advance. I've already started to send that to some of our applicants, but don't worry if you've not yet applied, you know, you can catch up. I'll send it to you later. And that's kind of got information about sort of what to expect in the pre-arrival period. So when you're thinking about how to move to Paris, if you're relocating, you know, what is it that you need to think about? Healthcare, banks, visas, accommodation, all of that kind of thing. And then when you arrive in Paris and you come to the induction on the first day, we'll start obviously with welcome and introductions. It's the opportunity to get to know each other. I love induction because I spend all year emailing you, and you know, we have lots of conversations, but then finally I get to meet you at induction, which is it's a great opportunity. You'll meet all of our specialism conveners and our program director. So our academic team will help you during that period. They'll present to you on the modules that are on offer and the specialisms that are on offer. They'll be able to help you make the right choices for you in terms of specialism or not, dissertation or not, you know, very many options available. Our module choices are pretty flexible. So you might feel a little bit overwhelmed with the choice that you have. So it's important for us to be able to guide you at that time, so that you can make a decision and make a selection of modules that you're happy with. But that flexibility does allow you to create your own LLM to quite a large extent, which is you know, something that's quite valuable. The module descriptions and the timetable are currently being prepared, and so they'll be sent to you in advance of the program start date, whether you start in September or in January. And that enables you to kind of look through that information before you get to induction and to become, well, to come to induction a little bit prepared with something in mind of what you think you might want to study with us, and then you can, you know, discuss that with our academic team. And the induction also offers you other student support sessions. So there's, you know, information about the various libraries and the various e-libraries and e-resources available to you as well. We have a session on IT and making sure that you're connected. There's a careers session. There's information about extracurricular activities. But the important thing is that we get to know each other, and that you feel comfortable and ready to go with your studies, so that you're the following week when teaching starts, you're not having a panic and you're feeling comfortable and ready to start. And just a note that our start dates for the next academic year will be the 11th of September 2023 and the 22nd of January 2024. Speaking of student support, we offer various support sessions throughout the year, or 2 years if you're part-time. One of the things that we offer to all our LLM students is the Critical Thinking and Writing in Law programme. It's also known as the In-Sessional because it takes place during your session, during your LLM. So this is not to be mistaken for a general English class. It's not going to go deeply into grammar or that kind of thing, but it's more considered as an academic skills class. It's just that the focus is on legal and academic English. It's an opportunity for you to become more familiar with the British style, the British system of writing, and thinking about what our examiners are going to want to read from you. It might help you, or we hope it will help you with your planning for your essays or your exams or your dissertation. It might help you with a presentation so yeah, a couple of our modules are assessed by presentation, so it might help you in that respect as well. This program is offered alongside the LLM free of charge, so the majority of our students take full advantage, and really we kind of expect everybody to join these classes anyway, but in some cases it will become part of your offer of a place on the program. So if you are an international student and you have an English language entry requirement, normally our entry requirement is IELTS 7 overall with 7 in writing, or TOEFL 100 overall with 27 in writing. If you fall just a little bit short of the writing entrance requirement, we may still be able to confirm your place, but we will include this critical thinking and writing in law class as a mandatory element. So that's something for you to consider as well. Further educational resources we have is just a list of some of the libraries that you will have access to. So obviously you've got access to local libraries in person in Paris, also the local libraries in person in London if you choose to pop over, which is not necessary but could be possible. But don't forget, you've also got access to all of the digital law resources. So all of our postgraduate law students, regardless of program or location or campus, everybody has access to the same digital law resources. And that's currently over 84 databases. So you've got no excuse for not studying. And you'll also get help in terms of referencing and citation and how to avoid plagiarism for all of these resources that you're consulting. So at this point, I normally ask one of our students to pop in and to chat about what opportunities they're taking advantage of outside the classroom. Unfortunately, at this moment, all of our students are in class, so nobody was available to join us. But we're hoping to run a student panel later in the year where, you know, to get students to discuss their experience of the program and kind of, you know, answer your questions and that kind of thing. So look out for information on that at some point. We'll try and arrange that soon. So it falls to me then to talk to you about your opportunities outside the classroom. And I've just put up a few logos and things. Q Legal is a law clinic specifically for tech startups. And that's something that our students can get involved in, giving legal advice pro bono, but supported by and mentored to a large extent by professionals. We have the mentoring program over in the Paris campus. The same thing runs in London too. Yeah, this is an opportunity that we can't offer to everybody. There's an application process involved, so it's not exactly competitive, but there's, you know, we can't offer the mentoring scheme to all of our students. So the few who are, you know, who produce an impressive application and proceed with that are mentored by local professionals in Paris. So hopefully you'll be able to meet in person too. And for example, we've also got a friendship, in fact, with the École de Guerre. This is the military school, which is just a few blocks away from the campus in Paris. And we run a debating team with them. So their debate team debates against the Queen Mary in Paris debate team. And this normally happens twice or sometimes 3 times per year on you know, a legal, internationally political topic. They vary very greatly. From their point of view, they get to practice their arguing skills in English, which is kind of the point for them. And from our side, our students get the opportunity to practice public speaking and to practice also arguing, debating skills, which is also quite a handy set of skills for a young lawyer. I should mention that the Queen Mary in Paris also runs an MA in International Relations through Queen Mary's School of Politics and International Relations. And so all that, the debate team is open to all of our postgraduate students in Paris. So yeah, it's a really good opportunity for our law students and our international relations students to get to know each other better as well. So if all of that sounds brilliant and you can't wait to move to Paris and join us to study, the next question you've got is probably going to be, how much is it going to cost me? Well, Paris is a capital city and therefore we can't deny that it's an expensive place to live, just as London is. But in terms of your student tuition fee, That depends on the program. So the LLM in Paris, the fee is the same for the September and the January start date. And for the Sorbonne, the double LLM is obviously a little bit more because you're getting 2 LLMs. And that's the January only start date. We have a single fee. We don't differentiate between home and international students, and the fee is in euros, which is quite important to remember. There are some scholarships available and some funding opportunities, but they are limited. I've put the link up here so that you can go and have a look at that and see whether you're eligible, whether any of them apply to you or not. Like I say, there's limited funding available, but there is something available. And I think this is my last slide here. So I just wanted to give you a huge list of all of the reasons why you should obviously come and study with us in Paris. You will be receiving a respected and renowned qualification. Queen Mary's academic and research excellence is worldwide renowned. And like I said earlier, we're really proud of that. But we hope that you will take advantage of that as well. We've got many options in Paris for you to study for a program which kind of fits you and suits your lifestyle. We've got an intake in September and one in January. And we have a very diverse student body. Like I said, that's one of the best bits about my job. So in the past academic year, we've had, let's say, 36 students representing 22 nationalities, which is just wonderful. The smaller class sizes in Paris allow for particularly close relationships with your academic team, with your classmates, obviously, and also with your professional services team. So if you are experiencing any difficulties or troubles or concerns or anything, then you have a very approachable team. Don't be shy, I think is the key message. Because of our small sizes and our close relationships, that forges a really strong alumni network. We're very much in touch with many of our former students. A lot of them have remained in Paris. Some of them have gone home or moved on elsewhere. And yeah, we're regularly in touch. We often invite alumni back to speak to our current students, sometimes as guest lecturers. So there are many opportunities for you to meet former students. And of course, you never know where that's going to lead. Who knows who's got a job, blah, blah, blah. So the CCLS Paris community and the career opportunities that may lead to kind of all will help to support your legal network with LLM students and lawyers and alumni from around the world. I mean, you have initially a ready-made network as soon as you step into the classroom. So really you can, it's up to you to make the most of that opportunity. And then finally, you have support systems in place in London, in the wider Queen Mary infrastructure, and locally in Paris, in the local infrastructure there as well. So I think my final key message to you is that the programs in Paris are the same Queen Mary faculty, the same quality, the same qualification as London, with a different experience in another of the world's most wonderful cities, where it's also sunny at the moment. So there we go. I think that's all from me. I feel like I've talked an awful lot. So perhaps this is an opportunity for you to ask some questions. Maybe the three of us can answer.
Fabulous. Thank you, Sam. No, there's plenty of question that's been coming in.
Perhaps I'll stop sharing my screen.
I've marked some so that we can go through them. So there's a couple of questions that I've seen coming in about working in Paris and about working part-time. Some of our students do work part-time, don't they, while they're...
Do you mean alongside the program?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I would say generally is feasible. If you are planning on working full-time, then please take the part-time program. Please do not try to do a full-time LLM alongside full-time work, because your brain's going to explode and I can't help with that. So if you're working full-time, do the part-time program. If you're doing the full-time program, then yes, you've potentially got the opportunity to work a part-time program, a part-time job alongside it. You could potentially do internship alongside the LLM. A lot of this will depend on your own circumstances. For international students, that might depend on your immigration status and whether there are any restrictions particular to your own situation. But yeah, generally speaking, I would say that it is feasible to work alongside the LLM with some careful time management and some determination, actually, because it's a very intensive program. And also, we won't accept I was at work for non-attendance or poor performance or failure in exams and that kind of thing. So our priority is your studies. We expect it to be your priority too, with the realization that, you know, life continues even if you're doing an LLM.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. That's really helpful. And kind of on the job side of things, someone's asked about job opportunities after graduation, and I've put in the chat just for everyone to see a link to some of our alumni profiles for the Paris programme. So you can kind of see the sort of roles that our students go into and where they go afterwards, which hopefully is helpful for you. But I'm sure Sam mentioned it briefly, but I think it's also worth just highlighting again that even though you're in Paris, you do have access to our careers team that we have dedicated for us in the postgraduate law with CCLS. So you can use them just as much as anyone in London can, which includes kind of CV reviews, interview prep, any events they're running. If they have them hybrid, you're able to join in, or if you want to come to London and take part in something, you can as well.
Our careers team will come over, or they'll be present at our induction as well. So, and that's the same for September and January. So you have, you know, as soon as you start the program, we introduce you to everybody that you need to know for the year, effectively. So, yeah, you've got full access to the careers services as well, and you've still got access to the careers service, I think, for 3 years after you graduate. I think it's part of the alumni package. Yeah.
Keep them nice and busy.
Yeah.
So someone's asked about short courses in French, which I know that we don't offer ourselves, but lots of people do French classes, don't they?
Yeah, and it's something that we get asked a lot. We haven't found quite the right way of being able to offer that ourselves at the moment. And part of that is because all our students have different levels of French. So there's no sort of easy class for everybody, and also we're a law school, not a French school, so there's that to consider. But yeah, a lot of our students do take advantage of the fact that they're in France to learn French. I mean, it's an obvious thing to do. So that might take the form of some conversation exchanges, perhaps if you have, you know, like I don't know, like an intercambio or a language exchange kind of thing. There are also notice boards all around the building where people can, you know, put a notice that they're searching for either a language exchange partner or a teacher, and vice versa. I'm a French teacher. I've got some spare time. Does anybody want classes? So that's sort of a slightly more informal route. But you know, a lot of some of the students have gone to more structured and formal classes at French language schools. And yeah, maybe perhaps I can try and put something together for the induction pack, where we can suggest, like, you know, where you might look for French classes and that kind of thing.
I'm sure that'll be really helpful.
Oh, I love giving myself work. Excellent.
So another one is about which I know the answer to as well. So it says, do we get to mix the students from ULIP or the Sorbonne activities or events?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, absolutely. We very much encourage you to you know, integrate. ULIP students tend to be undergraduate, and they're usually doing French language or literature or cultural modules. And the Queen Mary students tend to be postgraduate in law and international relations. And there's also a program in urban history and culture as well. So you might not necessarily have academic crossover with the undergraduates, but you're in the same building, you're using the same space, you can go to each other's events, and there's a lot of sort of social events and things, and there's a student union, as there is in any UK university, and you've got access to that as well. So yeah, we'll introduce you all sort of at the start of the year usually.
Fabulous. There's one which I don't know if we can really answer, to be honest, and it's about kind of how much cost of living is in Paris, but these things change all the time.
It does. It's a tricky one to answer. I'll see whether I have whether the colleagues at ULIP perhaps have something. So in fact, it might be in the accommodation guide. So ULIP have produced sort of a general guide to living in Paris, with a focus on the accommodation side, because that's obviously one of the biggest questions. And I seem to remember that there might be something about the cost of living in there. So I'll see if I can dig it out. And Charlotte, if you could maybe forward me the name of the person that asked it, and I can send them an email.
It's anonymous at the moment, so if they want to tell us who they are,
so or you can email me directly. That's fine, whichever.
Fab. A few of the very similar questions. So someone's asked particularly about part-time, but this actually relates to all of it, about whether class is in attendance or it's online.
It's all in attendance.
Yeah, I knew that was the answer. So yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're full-time or part-time, we expect you to be there. The experience is so much better as well.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a different thing, but yeah, we're back in person, and we intend to continue in that manner until we're told otherwise, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. One that was in the chat, before I forget, was asking about accommodation. Obviously, we don't have our own accommodation, but we have suggestions, don't we? Which accommodation guide?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we don't have campus accommodation in France, but we're able to make suggestions or give guidance, and also we work very closely with the ULIP student services team, who obviously also have a wealth of knowledge and experience of working with international students or students coming into France looking for accommodation. And so what we can do is offer you, so like I say, suggestions and guidance. Some of that is already up on our website, so I can
I'm putting the link in the chat now.
Oh, look at that. Ta-da! There we go. What a team. So yeah, so that's where I would say have a look in the first instance. But again, it all comes down to your own preference and your own budget.
Fab. Thank you for that. There's a few questions just on kind of admissions, which we can both answer really. So someone's asked about unconditional admissions, and we do have unconditional offers. So if you already have your undergraduate law degree, then we can offer unconditional offers for you to come and study with us. So just a reminder of the conditions of our entry requirements is we ask for at least a 2-1 or equivalent in your undergraduate law degree. So we have a really useful guide on our website. So when you go on the Law Paris page or any of our program pages, you can do an equivalent to whatever country you're in if you're not from the UK or studied a UK degree, and it will tell you the equivalent of what we're looking for. So you need that alongside the English requirements, as Sam outlined earlier. If you have that already, then you will get an unconditional offer. We do accept a slightly lower 2-2 if you've got some law experience as a background as well. So we will consider that when you make your application. But I always think it's worth noting that it doesn't cost you anything to make an application. So if you want to just put an application in, if you're a bit unsure, and then the admissions team can help with that.
Yeah, just to add to that, for the double LLM that we run with the Sorbonne,
good point.
the application process for that is really long because we've got 2 universities involved, so you can imagine the bureaucracy. So it takes a long time, but it should be relatively smooth. It's just that there's quite a lot of waiting whilst the 2 universities converse. For that one, you apply directly to Queen Mary in the first instance for the double LLM, and we assess the academic background and the English language side of things, and then we transfer your application over to the Sorbonne, and they take care of the French language side of things, and they're also sort of just double checking your academic background as well. So it's very likely for that program that you would have initially a conditional offer on the condition that you take the interview with the Sorbonne, and once they are happy and confirmed, then it would convert to unconditional. So that one takes a little bit longer. That's all.
Perfect. And someone's actually asked about what the interview process involves for the double LLM.
Sure. So it's a chat, really. I wouldn't say that it's scary or worrying in any way. It's an opportunity for the Sorbonne's selection panel to sort of just double check that they're happy with the initial decision that Queen Mary have made. They want to meet you and get to know you a little bit and see whether you're eligible for the program, whether you're suitable for the program. And they're also checking that you have the required French language level. So with the English side of things at Queen Mary, we ask for a specific test with a specific level. The Sorbonne prefer to do that by actual conversation and assessing your language in that way. So they don't ask for the DALF or the DELF test, but they want to talk to you instead and to get like real life contact. The interviews tend to be online. They're not usually in person, which is easier for everybody because everybody's all around the world. And obviously it's going to be in French. And it's usually with the program director of the Sorbonne's program, the co-director, I should say. One other thing, it's the interviews are going to be in July. I think they're provisionally scheduled for maybe the second week of July. There's also a second round. So if you don't apply in time for the July interviews, you can apply later. And there's a round in October as well.
Lovely, thank you. I'm going to reply to this physically, but I think we should say it out loud as well. Someone's asked about application deadlines for the program.
Good question.
This is a test.
Are you online?
You know them off by heart. No, I've got them.
No,
here.
I don't.
So for September entry, the deadline to apply is Friday the 30th of June. And for January entry is Friday the 1st of December.
Yeah,
for full-time, I only know that because I've gone and looked it up. And that's the same whether it's full-time or part-time. There's no difference in a deadline for that. So if you're hoping to start with us in September, you've got just a month, just over a month.
Yeah.
Which
I think is plenty of time actually to make your application. Worth remembering that you can apply in the UK system with your incomplete documents. So you don't have to have already your degree or your English test. You can apply with an interim transcript, or you can apply without your English test. And the admissions office can probably make a conditional offer in that respect. So don't feel like you've got to have all of your documents all together immediately in order to make your application. I would say make the application before the deadline and then send everything later.
Thank you, Sam. We've got a couple on another kind of employment side of things, or kind of next step side. I'm completely useless when it comes to the bar side of things. So I'm hoping you might know a bit more. So someone's asked about doing an LLM, does that allow us to practice in France as a solicitor barrister?
No, so the LLM is not a qualifying degree. So it's a purely academic program, which perhaps will enhance your CV and make you more employable, but it doesn't give you the direct ability to practice. However, your undergraduate probably was a qualifying degree. The UK, the LLB is. So you, in order to practice, if your undergrad doesn't allow you to practice in France, then there are other routes, and the careers service would be better placed than me to guide you on that. But if you're thinking about the bar school, then the LLM does not allow direct entry. You still need to pass the entrance test for the bar school in order to then go and take the bar studies. So yeah, the LLM is not a qualification.
Thank you. And someone, I guess this is completely up to the individual, but someone's asking whether you take an LLM before or after taking the bar exam, but I suppose that's up to personal preference, isn't it?
Well, that person I would invite to send me an email so that we can have a little look about, maybe a little closer look into what exactly your situation is. Because if you're referring to the partnership that we have with the bar school, where the LLM takes the place of the PPE, then you kind of have to do them in parallel, which is a third answer to third option. Yeah, but maybe send me an email and we can have a chat about your options.
Perfect. A couple more on the employment side of things. Is there enough time to do an internship while doing the full-time programme?
Yes, again, with careful time management. There's certain paperwork that is required in France for students specifically taking an internship, and that has to be signed by all parties. And part of that agreement is that the law firm recognizes that you are a student and therefore you should be in class. So the idea is that they allow you the time to study as well. The reality might be a little bit different, and once you're in and you're working and you're excited and you want to do everything to impress everybody, you might find that you're pulled in many directions, but that's also quite a useful life lesson as well. So I think our approach to it as a school is that we want to try to support you as far as possible in all the things that you want to do to get the most out of your time with us. We are constrained, obviously, by our own academic regulations, but within that, we do try to be as flexible and as understanding as we can be. So if we can support an internship, then we will do our best to support it. I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Sam. And someone's asked about assessments. Is it exams or assignments or a mix of both?
Oh, there's all sorts of things. So the majority of our modules are assessed either by an exam, or so that happens at the end of the semester in January and in July, or they are assessed usually by an essay, which you write during the semester. And the deadline for that is usually about 4 weeks after the end of whichever module you're taking. Some of the modules have a practical element of assessment. I'm thinking of one in particular also has a presentation element. It's a negotiation class, so there's a case study and a role play effectively of a negotiation. I think that's the only way that we assess it at the moment. I don't know if anybody's going to introduce some exciting new assessment methods, but yeah, but generally speaking, you'll have essays throughout the semester and the exams at the end of each semester as well. And the dissertation is submitted at the end of your year. And if you're a part-timer, then that's done in your second year.
Lovely, thank you. One more bar question. It blows my mind. I really need to swat up on this side of things. So someone's asked about, which I think I know the answer, but I'll read it out anyway. Does the LLM help you land jobs with companies as in-house counsel, or would we still need to clear the bar?
I cannot answer that question.
I'm
sorry, but it's a way of getting the questions like on a spreadsheet or something. Can it come through so that we can go and
well, we
find out and get back to you?
note ones that we weren't sure the answer of. I always like to point out that we're not a careers team and we're not admissions.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll help as much as we can, but sometimes we just don't know the answers, unfortunately. Not our expertise.
But I'm wondering if one of my colleagues might know the answer, so I'm going to go and ask her.
Sure.
And yeah, if we can get back.
If this person, it's anonymous again, so if you want to let us know.
I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, we'll find out and get back to you.
And then I think this is the last one, unless we're going to get flooded with another load. So it says, if you got into one program, could you try to change to a different one before September?
can we be more specific? Like, do you mean if you get into the banking LLM, can you change to the IP LLM?
Let's say that's the case.
So if you're applying to the LLM in Paris, then you apply generally to the LLM in Paris, and then you choose your specialism after the induction. So until that moment that you give me that confirmation of your specialism, you can change your mind as much as you like. On the other hand, if you're talking about applying for the LLM in Paris and switching to the double LLM, that's more difficult because the application processes are different. So you might apply to the LLM in Paris and then change your mind, but you've missed the opportunity for the interview, in which case we couldn't really proceed with that. So that's a little bit more complicated. What I would also say is if you're going to change anything, do it before enrollment. It's very easy to change things at the applicant and admissions stage. Once you're enrolled, oh, it becomes really complicated and there's so much paperwork. Could be possible, but I would say if you're going to change your mind, do it beforehand, and that way it's better for you anyway, because then you're starting on the program that you actually want to start on. So hopefully I think I gave you 3 answers to the same question.
But that covers all bases, so that's great. Okay, so we're kind of perfectly up to time, which is great. So I'm going to close it there and say thank you everyone for your questions and engagement. It's always lovely to have lots of people wanting to ask things, and I hope we answer them as best as possible. I will note those couple of questions, and if you ask anonymously and you want to ask the question to us directly, you will all receive my email, I think, as part of this afterwards. So just send me an email, just ask directly, and we can find the answer for you. There's always someone that can help. We just might not have the knowledge here. So a very big thank you to Sam for the presentation, and Katrin for being here as part of this today. And a big thank you to everyone that joined us. So thank you, and we hope to see some of you in September.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all. Okay.
Thanks ever so much, guys. See you soon.
Thanks everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.